Let me ask the question a different way. So let you think about it while you're...
Oh, yeah. I was supposed to repeat the question, too, for the benefit of our audience at home. So, yeah, the question is, so how hard is it to install one of these graphical... You can install multiple ones, too.
No, I could do an ISO and install it on this laptop. Yeah. But so additional software. So if I wanted to install a particular browser or just some other type of, once the operating system is up and running.
Yeah. So this is how you do it. We're going to stick with apt-get. Apt-get search Chrome.
Okay.
Oh, that's wrong. Let me use aptitude instead. Sorry, aptitude. The apt-get is the more general. Debian likes you to use something called aptitude, which is slightly more user-friendly version of apt-get, and that's the one I'm most used to. Chrome. There we go. So let's see what we got. So these are the packages that are in the Debian repositories that have Chrome in their name. So it looks like we've got a couple of them here. Google Chrome Beta, so that's if you want the cutting edge, latest and greatest, you use that one. Google Chrome Stable, and then, the really latest and greatest is Unstable, the unstable branch of Google Chrome. And unstable doesn't necessarily mean it's going to crash all the time, but it might mean that it crashes some of the time. And as you can see over here, P means package, which means it's available for you. The I means it's actually currently installed on the system. And so as you can see, I have this package, Google Chrome Stable, installed. So if I wanted to install Beta, I would do it like this.
So it did a search and told you what you had.
Yeah, exactly. It keeps a record of everything that's currently installed on your machine, as well as everything that's available in the repository, because people add stuff all the time.
Will it notify you when a new release becomes available?
Yeah, so everything is released as soon as somebody gets to it, and so there's no version 3 of Debian, version 4, whatever. It's somebody updates, like when Google, for example, they're constantly updating Google Chrome, and so there's a command for that. Aptitude. I'm going to show you all the different. First of all, let's make sure we have the very latest information from the official repositories to make sure they have the aptitude update. So sudo SU in Linux land means super user. That means your root account. And sudo means do something as the admin. And it lets you execute this command. It's the equivalent in it's the equivalent in Windows of you right-click on something and it says run as administrator. Mm-hmm. That's the equivalent. And so, when you're fiddling with software, installing and uninstalling software, that's considered potentially, sensitive, and you want to be careful about that. So I have to type my password. So I have a separate password that I use for the root account. You always keep 2 passwords. One for your normal user account, and then one for the admin. So there it did. It updated. If you want to read the gory details of it, you can. But the repository is just at a web address. There's Google, so it updated. Saw if there's a new version of Chrome available. But then most of them, it's security.debian.org, and so it pinged that web address. It said, "Do you have any new packages? If so." Let me know about them. So then, sudo again, aptitude full upgrade. And so this says, okay, any of the many thousands of pieces of software out there that has been upgraded and that I have on my system, it offers to upgrade them for me. So it has 2 of them here. NTFS is a networked file system, which I don't really use, and then Postgres, which is a database software. And so that's how you do it. And most people configure this to have it work automatically. So they turn their computer on, it'll ping the servers or repository, see if there's any updates, and then if so, then it installs them. And so that keeps your software as up to date as possible. You are relying on other people to do it for you, but you're relying on kind of this big community of people rather than one single software vendor.
So you write a script that just initiates every time you boot?
Yeah. So that's called, you do that, and it's called Cron. Yeah, well, there are a couple of variations about this, but yeah, it's actually pretty simple. Let's take a look at it. So, let's see, cron table. So what I'm going to do now is it's not a directory. So I'm going to go into the etc. directory on the machine. And this is the directory that contains all the settings, all the the configuration details, and so I'm going to use Emacs to look at this file, Cron Tab. Let's take a look at it. All right. Oh, this isn't very interesting. This is basically it's how you configure automated jobs on the computer to run, and you can tell them to run. I mean, I don't want to get super duper into the gory details of this, but you can have jobs that run daily, hourly, monthly, weekly, or at some other arbitrary period. And most of this stuff is already configured for you, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you want, you can absolutely do it yourself. And that's how you schedule things to happen automatically on the computer. And Anacron works even if your computer happens to be off when it's supposed to do a backup. It'll just do the backup the next time you turn it on, or the next time you turn it on that's not between the hours of 8 and 5. I mean, it's kind of infinitely configurable, which is one of the nifty things about it. So let's see, what else should we cover?
When's a good time to discuss if the other folks don't mind Raspberry Pi?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, cool. So,
Can I just real quick?
Sure.
On the PC level.
Yeah.
So everybody's familiar with how to set up a Windows machine and the security on it, putting in a firewall and antivirus software, that kind of thing. But how do you do it on a Linux?
So,
or what are your recommendations?
So the first thing to do is, the best way to do this is, out of the box, it's typically going to be pretty secure.
So not too much really more to do.
So let's take a look at, here, I'll tell you what I do.
The default.
Yeah. You can.
Well, I'm just talking about Joe, average user.
Yeah. What's the?
Most consumer distributions, I think the major ports are closed. Right?
Yeah. So,
tables or DFW.
for example, on my computer at home, I have a port open that's listening on the internet for if I want to remote into my computer, and I have it on a random port number, like the standard. The command for remoting into another computer is called SSH, and it looks exactly like this. Actually, let's see if my computer at home's. I'm not going to do it now, but and so SSH allows you to go and work on another computer that's configured for it. The standard port for SSH is port 22, I think, and if you have SSH open on your machine, it's a good idea to use a non-standard port, because from time to time people come by and paint. Unsophisticated hackers that are derogatively referred to as script kiddies will go and they write a simple program that'll go ping all these IP addresses within a given range and looking for vulnerabilities, and that's one of the things that they'll absolutely look for. But at any rate, so what is it?
Do you have a static or dynamic?
Oh, there it is. I got a dynamic at home. I'm almost. It's dynamic, but you use what's called port forwarding, and that exposes a particular. That means if your router gets hit by a request, say hey router, give me port 522, then if it gets that particular port, it'll forward that request directly to your computer. Usually, your typical installation router is not going to do anything with that, but that's how you would do it.
So I'd have to configure the router
Yeah.
and also have the Raspberry Pi on continuously with my computer off to get access to my computer,
What's the purpose?
to remotely access the computer.
Well, if the computer's running, then you configure a SSH.
Oh,
Yeah.
so,
I mean, that's simple.
You mentioned turning it
Oh,
on. So-
I don't want to leave my computer on all the time.
Right.
That's just to save power.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, all that this thing does is it just, there's a wire that comes out of it at home, and it just turns the computer on.
Okay.
Yeah. So your question was, I used a command called Netstat, and this is going to give me a list of everything that's listening on the internet right now. I think it's listening. Yeah, there it is. And so here's the thing, this requires you to be somewhat sophisticated to understand. Yeah, this is the sort of thing that, if you're a professional system admin, you're paying attention to stuff like this, and you're making sure that nothing's listening on your machine that really shouldn't be listening to it. But I would say out of the box, you really don't have to worry about that stuff.
So you don't get something like Norton or any of those?
No, there aren't really any. I don't think there are any. I mean, are there any computer? I guess in theory there are. Are there viruses for Linux? That's a good question. I mean, how many known viruses? Yeah. None currently in the wild. It's just because.
There's a tool called ClamAV.
Yeah.
Well, is updated regularly.
Viruses, as a security thing, I don't think viruses are quite as much of a concern as they used to be. The problem is because any person who's going to write a good virus, and a particularly dangerous virus, is going to use a freely available service by Google that runs every known antivirus software against it, see if it gets caught. And if it gets caught, then they modify it until it doesn't get caught. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, And so, I considered your standard setup out of the box Linux distribution to be very secure. But again, it can always be made insecure, and again, something could happen that I mean, it's such a kind of a personal belief. I mean, I feel more comfortable with Linux than I do with Windows for sure. And also, I mean, there are a lot fewer users out there. It's like 1% of the installed user base, runs Linux, and so the people just don't write viruses for them, and people aren't going to be looking for those Linux exploits nearly as much. But security is always, on your mind.
Well, if we would set up, say, a Raspberry Pi for automation.
Yeah, sure.
And have the front door linked to a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
The hackability of it, if you will, to have remotely come in and unlock my front door.
I would say it's significantly easier just to pick your lock. We've done it here. It's not hard. I mean, why go to all the trouble? Ask Nathan. He's a great lock picker. Yeah. We had the old system on the door that we calculated how long it would brute force to pick the combination of that, and it was an average of about 10 minutes.
Wow.
I did it too, just to demonstrate it. Yeah, it's a great picture of me holding it. We should subsequently change the locks, so use a much better system now.
Still, you would not put something like that on an open port that wasn't locked down.
The way that
General prudence, anything you public internet should be locked.
Absolutely. Yeah,
especially something that controls your house.
Yeah. The way that, I mean, this is a whole another topic that's very interesting and important that I don't think we're going to really be able to get into today, but probably the most secure method of securing something that's listening to the open internet is using a public-private key. It's the same way that your credit card is encoded. And that's what I use. And so the practical, it means it doesn't even take a password. You have to actually, the port will only be exposed to certain machines, like my machines that I tell it to listen to. And those machines are uniquely identified. And that's extremely secure. I'd say that's probably the most secure means of remoting into a computer out there. There's no passwords you can't crack, you can't brute force it. Most of the hacks out there are very simple. I mean, there's go look for passwords that are 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, why spend the effort, looking for, trying to hack some, reasonably secured machine. But I might do in the future another topic, a topic specifically on cryptography and security, because it's just a fascinating subject and important. But anyway, so maybe we should start, taking a look at this. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's hugely exciting to look at because it looks remarkably similar to this, but we'll give it a shot. So
I have to take off.
Okay, sure.
Very informative. Thank you.
You bet. Yeah.